The Mini Moke is a front-wheel drive utility and recreation vehicle, conceived and manufactured as a lightweight military vehicle by British Motor Corporation and subsequently marketed for civilian use under the Austin, Morris, Leyland and Moke brands. The name Mini Moke combines the mini with moke, an archaic term for mule. The Moke is known for its simple, straightforward, doorless design and for its adaptability. BMC's Cowley plant started building Mokes in January 1964 with 14,518 produced in the UK between 1964 and 1968. A further 26,000 were manufactured in Australia between 1966 and 1981, and 10,000 in Portugal between 1980 and 1993, when, after nearly 30-year run, production ended. In 2013, a joint venture with Jaguar Land Rover, Chinese automaker Chery Automobile, started production in China of a new car called Moke. This version of the design is assembled and distributed by a number of companies in several countries, including the UK, France, and the US, although ownership of the Moke name is disputed. The original Moke was designed by Sir Alec Isigonis and John Shepherd. When Isigonis designed the Mini, he planned another vehicle to share the Mini's mechanical parts, but with a more rugged body shell. This was an attempt to take a portion of the military vehicle business from Land Rover, which was then a separate company. Isigonis had previously designed the Nuffield Guppy, a failed attempt to break into the market. By 1959, BMC had worked on prototypes of what was codenamed the Buckboard, later to become the Mini Moke. These prototypes were shown to the British Army as a parachute droppable vehicle, but poor ground clearance and a low-powered engine did not meet the most basic requirements for an off-road vehicle. Only the Royal Navy showed any interest in the Buckboard as a vehicle for use on the decks of aircraft carriers. Early promotional vehicle made much of the lightness of the vehicle, showing 4 soldiers travelling in the Moke off-road and then picking it up by its tubular bumpers and carrying it when, inevitably, its low ground clearance proved inadequate. In a further attempt to make a viable military vehicle, a few four-wheel drive Mokes were made. This was accomplished with the addition of a second engine and transmission at the back of the vehicle with linked clutches and gear shifters, which did nothing for the ground clearance problems, but it did make for quite a difficult drive. This vehicle was called the Twinny and was shown to the US Army, again with no success. The added mechanical complexity and lack of interest by the military discouraged the development beyond the prototype stage. 3 of these vehicles were used by the Brazilian army after being captured during the 1969 Rupuni rebellion from Guyanese rebels who had crossed the borders into Brazil. During the Rhodesian Bush War, there was an attempt by the Rhodesian security forces to create an armoured Moke as an improvised fighting vehicle, which was seemingly unsuccessful. Original prototypes using the engine, transmission and suspension parts from the Mini van, the designed small wheels and low ground clearance made it unsuitable as an off-road military vehicle. The design therefore was subsequently adapted and sold globally for general use as a low-cost, easy-maintained, lightweight recreational and utility vehicle. When BMC gave up on the idea of selling the Moke to the military in 1963, they marketed it as a civilian vehicle, targeting farmers and light commercial applications. Several prototypes were built in 1963, one of which is still known to exist in Pinner, just outside London in England. The Moke was launched onto the British market in 1964. The British Customs and Excise Department decided that the Moke should be classified as a passenger car rather than a commercial vehicle, which meant that it attracted purchase tax, reducing sales in its intended commercial market. British-made Mokes were fitted with the low-end 848cc transverse inline-4 A-series engine. Detuned to use low-octane fuel, they use the same suspension gearbox and 10-inch wheels as the standard Mini. Originally, passenger seats, grab handles, heater, windscreen washer and removable canvas top were optional equipment installed by the owner. The base price was £405. The Mark I Mokes had a single windscreen wiper and a floor-mounted headlight dip switch, and the only colour available was spruce green. In 1967, the Mark II Moke added a passenger side wiper. Horn and headlamp controls were moved into the indicator stalk. These later British Mokes were also available in white. The John Player and Sons Cigarette Company ran a team of Mokes in autocross competitions on grass tracks through 1968. These vehicles were equipped with rollover protection and used the Mini Cooper's 1275cc engine. Despite the lack of success in selling the Moke to the British Armed Forces, an unknown number, unlikely to have been more than a handful of examples, were apparently used by the land forces of the Falkland Islands during the Falkland War and its immediate aftermath. The source of these vehicles is unclear. At least one commandeered civilian Mini Moke was also used by the Argentinian forces during their occupation of the islands. The original Moke was made in Britain until 1968. Australian production of the Moke ended in 1981. As Australian Moke production wound down, manufacturing transferred to British Leyland subsidiary in Portugal, which made 8,500 of the Californian Mokes between 1980 and 84. In 1984, production was transferred to the Vendos Novus plant. Initially, these Mokes were identical to the late-model Australian Mokes. Very soon, however, they were altered to use then-current British production Mini Saloon components, including the standard-length Mini rear trailing arms and the 12-inch wheels with modern low-profile tyres, which the saloon had acquired during the Moke's absence from Europe. In April 1990, British Leyland, by then called the Rover Group, sold the Moke name to Cagiva, a motorcycle manufacturer in Bologna, Italy. Production continued in Portugal under Cagiva's auspices until 1993, when Cagiva transferred the tooling to their own factory in Varese, Italy, with the intention of restarting production there in 1995, which they never actually did. Although some unfinished cars were assembled in Italy, Cagiva was made to pay a considerably higher price for the Rover-made parts than BL's Portuguese subsidiary, and the enterprise never made financial sense. The Cagiva-built Mokes have a new top with C-shaped openings, as well as plastic curved handles at the rear longitudinal elements of the rollover bar. Since Cagiva did not own the Mini name, the 2,071 cars they built were sold only as Mokes, and this brought the total production run of Mokes and Moke derivatives to a total of about 50,000 in all. The Moke's construction is simple. The body mainly consists of two box-section pontoons or side boxes running between the front and rear wheels, and includes solid extensions running from the back of the car to the front, and these are connected by the floor pan, the firewall, and the sturdy lateral torque box that runs under the front seats and stiffens the body in torsion. The left-hand pontoon contains the fuel tank. The right hand has a compartment for the battery and a small lockable storage area. The 1972 Moke Special Export, commonly referred to as the Californian Moke, has an Austin Sprite NG midget type fuel tank fitted beneath the rear floor area to meet the American FMVSS safety requirements of the time. Standard Mokes of the same period and later Californian Mokes used the conventional tank mounted in the left side box. Later Portuguese Mokes have additional lockable storage space at the rear of the vehicle. Optional cloth canopy has plastic side windows and is held up by thin tubular structure that can easily be removed when not needed. In later versions, this was replaced with a more solid roll cage. The windscreen can easily be unbolted and removed if not needed. There are just 3 curved panels in the Moke: the bonnet, the firewall, and the floor, each of which is only curved in one direction. This makes it relatively straightforward to reproduce and replace Moke body components without access to sophisticated machine tools. Because the Moke's Mini A-Series engine, manual gearbox and suspension are identical to those of the Mini, which was still in production up until October 2000, most spare parts are still readily available. The Moke has no chassis as such, so the wheels, brake assemblies and suspension are attached to the front and rear subframes, bolted straight into the monocoque shell, just as with the standard Mini. Mokes tend to require much structural maintenance if they are to stay in good running order. The box sections in particular are prone to rust. The Moke attracted attention via media exposure, including the 1965 John Boorman film Catch As If You Can, in which the Moke was driven by the Dave Clark 5. Many appearances in television series The Prisoner, starring Patrick McGoohan from 1967 to 68, as well as in popular songs such as the English rock group's Traffic's recording of Berkshire Poppies. The Moke was also featured in several James Bond films: You Only Live Twice, Live and Let Die, The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, as well as the films Emmanuel, Carry On Camping and the Doctor Who story Fury from the Deep. In total, the Moke has made cameo appearances in over 70 films. The Beatles and the Beach Boys were also photographed behind the wheel of a Moke. Despite these cultural references and celebrity associations, only about a tenth of the 14,500 British-produced Mokes were sold in the United Kingdom, although Mokes continued to be made in Britain until 1968. The Moke met with renewed success in the 1980s after French actress and model Brigitte Bardot was pictured driving a Moke with her dogs in Saint-Tropez in France. In 1982, the Seychelles issued a commemorative transportation postage stamp featuring the Mini Moke. In 2016, the Moke was also included in an exhibition titled Owl Projects with Aluminium, curated by Maria Cristina D'Addario at the Grand Hormo in Belgium. The show explored experimentation with aluminium in art, design and industry. So that rounds off our look into the history of the Mini Moke, an enduring design with a lot of cultural references and an influencer for many cars in the kit car industry. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and please click on the bell and click on all, and this will tell you when new videos are posted. See you in the next one.